so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. Let's continue the conversation on the APC National Convention, which is slated for this Saturday, the 26th of March 2022. I'm now being joined by one of the leaders of the APC, the governor of Plateau State, Governor Simon Lalong, who joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us. Earlier, you saw on the program the grievance of some members of your party. They are grieved. Give us an understanding about the situation in respect of the consensus arrangement. We are understanding now that there's going to be a unity list. What is that about?
Thank you, Sean, and good evening, viewers. Now, I also watch some of the grievances from very keen supporters of our political party. Now, I think analyzing it very well, the Constitution, even the new new Electoral Act provides for three dimensions. One, the direct, the indirect, and of course, the consensus. Consensus has a lot of processes. Now, in our own case, let me say, for those who even say that it has not been available in APC or it has not been available in other political parties. I came from PDP to CPC, then eventually to the merger to APC. In PDP, it's almost the same. The last convention that was conducted by the PDP was consensus. In APC, when we were electing after Akande, Baba Akande, when we came to elect Oyegun, it was done by consensus, mostly by consensus. The second one that was also done with Shomole, I was a governor. It was done by consensus. And that's why the president was emphasizing that let us continue with consensus. As much as possible, we must continue with consensus. The fact that the party had adopted consensus does not mean that it will stop anybody from contesting election. That's usually the principle. At the end of the day, people wonder, they say, no, it's governors that go to sit down. It's the president that will decide. You know that anybody that is contesting election will first of all go to say, let me go and inform my leader. Let me go and inform the governor. Let me go and inform Mr. President. The president must know of my ambition. Yes, he's the leader of the party. At the end of the day, where a party has such leadership, loyalty is tested by...
It's a bit more tricky for your party now, especially because there is a provision of the law as we speak on how consensus has to be arrived at. And I'll quickly read the two clauses, or the three clauses under the consensus candidature for any election. It says, a political party that adopts a consensus candidate shall secure the written consent of all cleared aspirants for the position, indicating their voluntary withdrawal from the race and the endorsement of the consensus candidate. A written consent. And the subsection 10 of that section says, where a political party is unable to secure the written consent of all cleared aspirants for the purpose of a consensus candidate, it shall revert to the choice of direct or indirect primaries for the nomination of candidates for the aforesaid elective positions. The 11th says, a special convention or nomination congress shall be held to ratify the choice of consensus candidates at designated centers at the national, state, senatorial, federal, and state constituency, as the case may be. The grievances of the gentleman who left the studio a few minutes ago was the fact that there were no written consent based on what the law says. As far as they're concerned, it's more or less imposition to them.
Well, let me tell you, so has the election been conducted? The election is not yet being conducted. We are already in the process of the election. We are already in the process of election. An election will end only at the convention after Saturday, after election. Now, what I'm saying is that when processes are done like this, even consensus are done through consultation. So through consultations, at the end of the day, through consultations, you will see that some candidates, some states will even bring one candidate. They will produce a candidate. That is now the consensus from that state. Now, for instance, If a state produces one candidate, will you require another? Will you require a written consent to show that there was consensus? That is the basis of the consensus I'm talking about. We have not reached that stage. We are still talking about consultations at this stage. Now, people will say that Mr. President is imposing. For a party that has leadership, loyalty ends with the leader of the party. For parties that don't have leadership, like some parties, I don't want to mention them to say that I'm accusing them, there are no specified or defined leadership. So there is no leader. For APC, we have the leader. The constitution provides that the leader of this party is Mr. President. And so for every consultation,
so let me ask quickly, quickly, sir. Who is then the preferred chairmanship aspirant of your party?
That's what I'm saying. Now it is still the period, the processes of consultation. Mr. President, many people who contested the election, one way or the other, had approached the president, had approached their governors in their various states. At a point, the governors also approached Mr. President to say, do you have an input? Do you have an input as to who are the candidates? In some cases, it is not saying that it is by force, that when the president says it is Mr. A, you must vote for Mr. A. We're seeking for Mr. President's input, which is done in most cases. Mr. President will say, for me, for the chairmanship, I would prefer Mr. A. Now it's left for the supporters, it's left for the, again, another governors or all the stakeholders.
Who then is the president's preferred candidate?
Well, it is very well known now. The president had addressed us governors. We went to him to ask him, who is really your preferred candidate? First of all, he said, I prefer that the chairmanship should come from the North Central Zone. Then we went back again after deliberations, and we came back to ask, do you have a preferred candidate in the North Central Zone? And he said, yes. For me, I would have preferred Abdullahi. I would prefer if Abdullahi Adamu has made the choice. Now, if we get Abdullahi Adamu as the choice...
Did the president explain the reason why he wanted Abdullahi Adamu as the chairman of the APC?
All of them, the president has everything for all of them. And the president took them one by one to explain his relationship with all of them and how they are all capable of becoming chairman. Capacity, they all have capacity. But the constitution provides that there must be one person, only one person. Only one person will be chairman of the party. So if you insist that who would I prefer, I will also say, it's done, even governors do that. Governors do that. I would say, well, I would prefer this. But however, they are all going into the elections. If you think otherwise, you can vote anybody.
So let me ask, there's been a lot of division within the ranks and file of the governors of the APC.
Yes.
Has there been a settlement in your rank now?
We don't have any division in our ranks and files. I've told you that when we went
all over
to
the place. We saw what a governor colleague of yours wrote on one of your platforms about his grievance on the state of affairs of the party. It's obvious
when did he write
that you have not agreed
when did he write
of the APC.
When did he write that? So because when did he write that? Our last meeting was yesterday. We had our last meeting yesterday.
I'm talking about a week ago or so.
No, that one is overtaken by events. That was at the beginning of those problems because it was processes of consultation. Yes, some governors will say, no, I prefer this method, I prefer, that was even the beginning of zoning. Because when you were talking about zoning, there were bound to be quarrels here and there. It's a conflict of interest. People had different interests. So at the end of the day, the governors agreed to a zoning formula. And that reduced the friction within the governors. Now, when we agreed to a zoning formula, we now started making further consultation on who were the possible candidates that will come out from that zoning process. So at that stage, yes, there were different interests. That is exactly what one of the governors explained. He said at a particular time, all of us were divided on different interests. But after we agreed on the zoning formula, the governors were unanimous. We are united and also unanimous on the approaches that were taken. And after the consultation with Mr. President, yesterday we had our last meeting with Mr. President. And after that meeting, we came out and made a public statement. We said we had a meeting with Mr. President. We made our presentation to Mr. President, and Mr. President agreed with the presentation and also to the unity of purpose of the governors for a progressive governors forum. So at that stage, no governor was complaining.
Yeah. All right. On the final note, I understand that there will be a unity list. When is that list going to come out?
Well, the unity list will come out on the day of election. It may come out, it may not come out.
Okay.
That's what I will tell you. But it's what people agree. Yes, you are talking of unity list because at this stage, the unity list, everybody will tell you is that it's a confirmation of the fact that all the states have agreed and everything that we put in process after due consultations, we all agreed that these are our representatives. But that notwithstanding, it does not stop anybody from going ahead to contest the election. But in most cases, when people talk about unity list, it is obvious that if you are contesting, it means that there's a limit to how far you can go because it is already extended to other various states. And at that stage, every state is protecting also her own nomination. Okay. So if you take a risk with your own nomination.
Your Excellency, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir.